Let's talk about the question that I am hearing everywhere right now. Is the Colorado housing market crashing? And before your fear takes over, I want to slow this down for you because this question is being driven almost entirely by the headlines in the news and not actual reality and what's happening in the market. So no, the Colorado housing market is not crashing. What is happening is that the market looks very, very different than it did in 2020 to 2022. I think we all can acknowledge that, and the headlines are extremely good at persuading us that different automatically means bad. Different does not mean that we're failing, and different does not mean crashing. Homes are still being bought every single day, like hundreds of homes. We help so many clients every single day buy and sell homes. Homes are still being sold every single day, and loans are still closing. So I want you to think about this just for a second because this does matter. If the market were actually crashing, the banks would stop lending us money. Buyers would completely disappear, you'd stop reaching out to us, and sellers would be panicking pricing their homes because they're like, oh my gosh, we have to sell. That is not what's happening at all. Prices are adjusting, they're not free falling, so no, the market is not crashing. The reason that this feels so intense right now is because we're comparing today's market to a unnatural period of time back in COVID time from 2020 to 2022. We lived through something that I almost guarantee we might never see again. That was crazy. Rates were just insane. We had ultra low interest rates. There was extreme buyer demand and history low inventory that I really don't think we're going to see in the future, and I honestly hope we don't. Homes were appreciating at double-digit rates, and buyers were waiving inspection, which I don't think that's a good idea. People were offering well over asking price just to get under contract, and now these people can't even sell their homes because they owe way too much money on their home because they overpaid for it, and now the market doesn't support that. That environment was not normal, and so when prices stop skyrocketing or even come down slightly, it feels very dramatic, even though that's what we're seeing is the market correcting itself, and honestly, I'm not mad about it, and I don't think that you should be either. Yes, home values in Colorado have adjusted. That's no secret. From the peak of COVID, we've seen roughly a 9% softening, depending on the city and the price point, obviously, give or take. But here's the perspective that matters, and I really want you guys to think about. During the 2008 crash, home values dropped 30% or more in many of the markets. Inventory flooded the market, lending nearly froze, and today we're talking about a single digit. You guys, the highest 9% adjustment from COVID, with lending that is still very, very active, and homes are still selling, and honestly they're selling relatively fast. Average days on market is about 60 to 90 days, so that's not a crash, that's just a correction in the market, and it needs to happen. Real estate goes up and it goes in downs, it goes in cycles, values go up, values come down. That's real estate, and then they all stabilize. That's the ride you sign up for when you go and purchase a home. Your value is not going to skyrocket by 50% every single year. What would an actual market crash look like? Well, a real crash looks like a widespread job loss everywhere. It looks like banks tightening lending so much that buyers cannot qualify, and like I said, that's not the case right now. It looks like the inventory is exploding because people have to sell. They can no longer afford their mortgage, and yes, that's happening, but not to the extent of that. We're not seeing as many foreclosures as there once was. That's not the market today. Most homeowners are sitting on fixed rate mortgages, many locked in at historically low rates, so lending standards are still very, very strong. And employment does remain stable, and that's why the crash comparison just does not hold up by any means. One of the biggest changes we have seen, though, is inventory. Across much of Colorado, we're sitting around 4 to 5 months of inventory, depending on the area. The northern Colorado is going to be different than the metro. That's just a major shift from the 1 month or less we saw just a few years ago. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have a little bit more inventory and have some more options than none. More inventory does not mean that the market is failing. It means that buyers finally have an option. you have an option. More options means less pressure on you. You do not have to settle. Less pressure leads to better decision making. I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with this year that had to pressure buy and now they're regretting it. This is very, very important because we are nowhere near the inventory levels that existed leading into 2008. We're not even close to that. So we're not in a market crash. Yes, interest rates are higher than they were a few years ago, and I understand that determines affordability. I know that, but those ultra low rates were not normal. Like I said, I don't think we're going to see those again. Rates in the mid 6% to low 7% range are much closer to the historical norms, and higher rates are actually one of the reasons that this market has shifted into a buyer-friendly territory. And you guys, buyer-friendly territories are amazing. You need to take full advantage of it because you can buy your interest rate down. They cooled demand enough to bring balance back into the market, and balance is not a bad thing. I understand if you're a seller, you're like, oh, can't make this amount of money on my house. I get it. But as a buyer, this is great for you. When people hear buyer's market, they often think that means prices are collapsing. And that's not what it means by any means. A buyer's market means buyers have leverage. You as a buyer have leverage. Inspections are back. You get to make a decision. Is this home right for me? And sellers are fixing things again. You don't have to buy a messed up home. We can get it fixed for you. Closing cost credits are being negotiated, and then your interest rate buy downs are on the table. You can get rates in the 4s and 5s now. These options did not exist a few years ago, and you had to pressure buy. So just to be clear, I'm not here to convince you to buy a house by any means. You gotta do what's best for you and your family, and that has to be the right timing. I'm here to make sure you understand the market you are stepping into, and there's a huge difference between that. And my job as a Colorado realtor is to help give you the knowledge to make the best informed decision. You need to ask yourself this personally: how much money do you have in your bank account? And be honest with yourself. Hear me out on this. Ask yourself how much is in your bank account. Do you have enough money for your down payment, but then you don't have much money beyond that? That is completely normal. That is most buyers, especially first-time home buyers. And in a buyer's market, you guys, we can work with that. We can work with little money because sellers can help cover closing costs. Sellers can help buy your interest rate down. I know you're probably worried about a high interest rate. Well, don't worry, we can get that down for you. Sellers can help with repairs after inspection if a home comes back that you're uncomfortable with. That support can change affordability entirely, which we are relaying on sellers for that. In a seller's market, you are competing with people who already own their homes, which a seller's market, I like to say, is a low interest rate market. They have equity. They don't need help covering closing costs. They don't mind fixing things themselves. They'll take that house that has that messed up roof or that messed up porch. They can absorb a higher monthly payment. But as a first-time home buyer, you just can't. You can't afford to do those things, and you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to try to compete with that. This is the question that most people do not think about, and I really want you to think about it. If interest rates, let's just say they drop tomorrow. Let's say they drop to a 2%. Would you suddenly feel confident, or would you be competing with 10 other buyers again? Remember COVID, you guys had to pressure buy, right? You were competing, because that's usually what happens in low interest rate markets. That's what happens in seller markets. When rates drop, demand goes up, inventory tightens, and competition returns. And the leverage that buyers have right now in a seller's market completely disappears, you guys. It'll completely disappear. One thing that I want you to sit with if you're waiting for headlines to say, now is the right time to buy. Oh my gosh, right time, purchase a home. You're already gonna be too late. By the time that the news feels positive and tells you to purchase, which we like to listen to the news, the opportunity is going to pass. Markets don't reward people who wait for certainty. That is just not how it works. If you're a stock trader, you understand that. They reward people who understand timing and know when to pull the trigger. So my final thoughts on this is we are not crashing. The Colorado market is not crashing. We are in a very well-balanced market right now. The balance is where smart buyers win. You as a buyer, you're smart, you're gonna win. If you're a buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, this is truly your time. You have leverage, you have options, you do not have to pressure buy, and you have room to breathe. And if you're a homeowner watching this wondering, well, what does this mean for me? You've talked about buyers the whole time. It means your home still has value, you guys. The market is still functioning, and pricing your home correctly matters so much right now. If the headlines have you feeling unsure, please reach out. My job is to give you clarity, not fear. I'm a Colorado native, so I know everything there is about living in the area, and I'm here to help you make an informed decision in the Colorado market. Like I said, if you're a seller, just know that right now, more than ever, you really need to position your home correctly. You need to stage it, you need to market it right, you need to have the pictures looking phenomenal, you need to have your house clean, smelling good, well represented, which that's always how your house should look when you go to hit the market. So please don't freak out. Buyers, this is your time. Sellers, don't freak out. We can still win in today's market, especially if you have a strong negotiator on your side. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to get in contact with me, my info is below, and I'd love it to help you. I'm a Colorado realtor, and I help people just like yourselves buy and sell in Colorado every single day. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.